so cool. Hello and welcome to the Flower Face Loveline. I'm here with Marcus, who is not only a dear friend of mine, but also produced my upcoming record, Girl Prometheus. We worked together for, say, like a couple months on recording, including driving up to a remote cabin on a lake together and spending a great amount of time together, and couldn't have done that with anyone else. It wouldn't have worked out, I don't think, if we didn't have the fun kind of relationship that we have.
Yeah, alone in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and it was great. You're a hell of a chef, turns out.
I do like to cook.
Yeah, I might turn to vegetarianism after eating your food.
Listen to that.
It's so good.
Listen to that.
I'm an advocate.
Vegetarian for Flower Face?
Maybe.
That's my new campaign.
Thinking about it.
Well, we are very excited to answer some of your questions and solve some of your problems. We've got a good lineup today of some calls and some letters. Ready to start?
I'm excited.
First caller.
Hi, I love your music so much. You're my favorite lyricist and singer, and also your poetry on Instagram is just so beautiful. So my question is about escapism and worries about how things will turn out in the future. I'm going to be applying to my dream schools in about 6 months. And it's so much to consider how everything I've been working towards for what feels like my whole life has just been like this one goal, and how like all of that still might result in rejection, and how to like cope with it, I guess.
That is a ongoing issue for most people.
Especially artists.
Yeah, fear of the future.
Yeah, and also like thinking you've working so hard on something to a point where like, you know, rejection could just totally shatter you.
Yeah.
I think especially with the arts, it's like you can work for years on a record and then Pitchfork gives you a 0.0 and it's like, well, everything I worked for was nothing.
Yeah. Well, definitely expect the unexpected. Put your best foot forward, and I'm gonna cite a little anecdote for you. So I might have told you this one. There's a farmer who has a horse in his field, and one day the horse escapes, breaks the fence and runs off. And the neighbor comes over and he says, "Oh, I heard your horse escaped. That's such bad luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse comes back and it's brought a horse with it. And the neighbor comes by and says, "Wow, what good luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then a couple days later, the farmer's son is trying to train the horse, and he manages to get on the horse's back, and the horse bucks, and the son falls and breaks his leg, and the neighbor says, "Oh my gosh, what bad luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And this son is in bed, and he's got a cast on, and there's a knock at the door, and the father comes to the door and he answers, and it's the army recruiting young men for the army, and the father says, "Well, my son can't go because he broke his leg." And the neighbor comes by and says, "Oh, that's such good luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." So I guess the moral of the story. The moral of the story. I know what we're saying.
Everyone
You're like,
why do we have this guy who's got this like bagels?
Thanks for sticking in there. But I guess what I'm getting at is like if you put your best foot forward and you do your best and you get rejected, you know, a door closes and a window opens sometimes. So hopefully you get into the school of your dreams, and if not, something else amazing might come instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of like taken on that form of thinking in the past couple of years where I feel like so many crazy things have happened in my life, and so really, every time something happens now, I'm like, it will happen the way it's meant to happen. If it doesn't happen the way I want it to, there is a reason for that. And I have to trust in that. And often, like, it does reveal itself soon. I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't get this thing that I wanted, because instead I got this and it was actually better.
Yeah.
But it is difficult. Very understandable to be scared.
Well, hope you get in there.
Yes.
Good luck.
Godspeed. Where we have a real adult here today, which is, so I've chosen a lot of questions related to sort of like fears about the future, and then also some sort of like, you know, I'm 16 and this is my situationship, because I think it'll be funny to have your take on it, because I'm 26 but internally I am 16. So
I'm
we're
probably
real,
internally about 9.
we're hoping to get a real adult perspective.
Okay, well, I'll do my best.
You're doing great so far, right? Like
Thanks.
telling like a very old man story.
Yeah.
Let me recite this fable to you.
Got a couple of fables lined up.
We're also, for the first time, recording at very, very early hour of 1 p.m. in the morning. And so we're drinking like coffee instead of wine, and very, we're on top of our game.
I'm so on top of my game. I rode my bike over here. Feeling energized.
All right, next question.
I'm 17 and I had my first love experience, and now it's been a year since we broke up. I guess I'm just afraid that won't get to happen to me again, and that my first will be my last, or that I'll never feel it like that again. And I don't even know how to approach new relationships anymore. I don't even know when I'm going to want that. I don't know how I'm going to tell if I want that. Don't even know how to move on, but I need to know how to start new again with someone else. I think I'm just scared. I'm really scared. And, you know, I know it's okay to be scared, but I kind of wish I wasn't.
Wow. If I understood correctly, you broke up with this new relationship recently?
I think yeah, it's like first love.
Wow.
First relationship, and I believe that like love will never happen again. Which when you're 17, very understandable. We've all been there.
Wow. Wow. I feel for you. I have a young daughter who just turned 11, so you're obviously older than that. And when I hear you say that, I think about my kid and her first relationship. What would I say to her in that situation?
Well, what about your first relationship? What was your experience of your first heartbreak? You can redact this.
What was my first heartbreak? Jeez. It's so funny. I didn't really get into a relationship until later. I was definitely older than 17 when I first fell in love. Yeah, I would say you have so much love ahead of you, and it is definitely heartbreaking to have love and to feel that unbelievable feeling that is love. And when you lose it, you get your heart broken, it feels like you're falling without a net. But the truth is it's most likely the first of multiple loves for you, and
multiple heartbreaks. You will be this miserable again over
it's
someone
true.
else.
And that's all part of the journey, right? Like you know, before this, we were talking about the inevitability of the challenges that life will throw you as you make your way through this labyrinth that is life. And this is one of those challenges, you know, and it will shape you, and it will hurt, but ultimately your job is just to learn something from it.
Yeah, agreed. I had my first heartbreak at 17 also.
Oh.
Or no, I guess I was 18. My first love at 17. We met like when I was 16. We were together for a couple of years. It was very intense, very like turbulent relationship, but we were both deeply in love. We were each other's first loves, everything. And oh my God, when that ended, I thought I was dying. Like, I was like, there is no way that anyone in the world has ever felt this kind of pain before. Like, I am the only one. Because if everyone had felt this pain, everyone would just die. Like, no one could survive this. Like, this is impossible. But the reality is that, like, everyone is.
Yeah, you're not alone.
It's the most universal feeling, but it feels like the most singular experience.
Yeah.
And I also felt that way. I was like, I will never love again. It won't happen. And I did have some like relationships after that where I didn't fully fall in love, and so I was like, it's over for me. It's certainly not gonna happen. But then I did fall in love again, and you know, I do still have love for that first love. I think you carry that with you forever, and you can hold on to that. Like, you know, you're heartbroken now. You're probably feeling a lot of things, maybe some anger, maybe some resentment, and maybe you feel like, you know, you don't want to continue loving that person, but I feel like eventually you get to a point where you can sort of be content with carrying these loves with you. And all the loves are different. Like, yeah, you're not going to feel that exact same thing again. And there is something sad about that. The first time that you feel those things for someone, it just opens this door. It's so magical. And yeah, nothing's like the first time. I guess that's not very helpful. That probably makes you feel worse.
Well, I mean, I definitely, it's been a while, a little older. I think you're right, and also I think what's really interesting about finding a new relationship and falling into a new love is like that you're opening a different door. Like you say, you know, it's like there's you have that first love and it's like, oh my God, it's like nothing could be better than this. And then you inevitably find another relationship and it's a different kind of love, and you get to explore that. And that's exciting in a different way. And, you know, for myself, I've fallen in love a handful of times. And, you know, I was married for 18 years. And when that relationship ended, I thought, well, I guess that's it. I guess I won't find love again. And then I met someone, and then I fell in love again. And I was like, wow, it's still possible. And part of that was her openness to the possibility of love. And I let her walk me through that door, and it opened a whole other realm of possibilities for me. And so I totally believe in finding new love multiple times in your life, and it's amazing. And the most important love
is with your friends. Is with your gay friends. Is with your, the most important love is with your producer.
is with yourself.
Yeah, but that's the hardest one.
Yeah. But you know, like, and that's a constant work in progress. Like, I think that's always something that you don't necessarily ever master, but like, I think that is the most important love. So after this relationship, I suggest you spend a bit of time with yourself and love yourself and cry as much as you need to cry.
Feel all your feelings and write them all down, because you'll want to remember that later.
Yeah.
When your heart is hardened.
Yeah, those feelings are all welcome and important, and talk to your friends about it and cry and be sad, because sadness is okay. Yeah.
And once you're ready, once you're past that initial like heartbreak and pain, try to feel a little excited about the fact that like now you get to know someone completely new. Like, that's everyone. Every person is different.
Yeah.
You could get to know someone wildly different from that first relationship, and they have all these like new exciting things that you can love that the first person didn't have, right? Like, every person is different. It's gonna be fun.
Yep.
Eventually.
Agreed.
I have some written questions.
Good.
if you want. Hello, my name is Emma, and I absolutely love your music and have for a few years, introducing it to all my friends and any new friends made along the way. I was wondering if you have any advice on keeping your creativity going and not being afraid to share your work and self to others. Good question.
Oh. Well, you start.
Keeping the creativity going is difficult. I've always been someone who has a hard time like forcing myself to work on my creative pursuits every day, because I've always seen it as this sort of ephemeral thing that you can kind of like grasp at, but you can't really like hold on to. But I had, as you know, a very fertile period of writing last year, where I kind of started writing all the time and then just didn't stop and kept writing about it. And I got to a point where every single thing that happened to me I was writing about. I would like walk down the street and witness something and I would go home and write about it, which I never did before. And so I noticed that through that, I made it a habit. And then once it was a habit, even if there wasn't anything necessarily inspiring happening to me, I was like, well, I have to write everything down because now I'm used to doing that. But the difficult thing is forming the habit in the first place if you don't feel like you have inspiration. So I would say, I don't know, like if you get any sort of spark, any sort of beginnings of an inspiration, follow that and try to do it as much and as often as you can, and build the habit so that when your life is really boring and you have nothing to write about or create any work about, you're still in the habit, and so you still wake up and think, I'm going to do this today.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the key. Is that habit? You kind of like get a wheel going, and it's like inertia. The more you do it, the more the wheel gets bigger and it spins, and there's this gear that's constantly turning in your head where you're noticing things that are inspiring, and you just kind of, your eyes are tuned to creativity. They're tuned to what questions that you have, challenges that you have, observations that you make, and you just allow yourself to be a vessel for those things. It's like every great artist that I know and that I've talked to sort of has that thing where it's like, writing music is kind of magic in a way, because it's like I allow myself to channel this thing and it comes out, and you participate, but in a way it's kind of like you just allow yourself to channel that, and the more you exercise that gear of creating momentum, the easier it is for that inspiration to pass through you.
For sure. It like changes your brain once you start doing it that often. And I mean, for me, I don't know what art specifically this person is talking about. For me, it's obviously writing. But it changed like once I started writing this often about like everything in my life, it changed the way that I just exist. Like it changed the way that I think. It changed the way that I observe the world and notice things. And it put new meaning in all of these small things that previously I wouldn't notice or give any meaning to. And so once you find that, like once that clicks, I feel like it's easier to hold on to. In terms of sharing with others, that's always scary, but like you just gotta do it. People are generally like pretty impressed by by any art, like put it out there. People who don't make art are gonna be like, wow, that's crazy that you can do that. And then just hold on to that. Totally.
There's also like sharing your music in the world is one thing, like starting from inspiration and following through and having a finished product, whether it's a painting or a song or a poem or whatever, and putting it out into the world. Yes, put out as much as you can. In terms of like sharing a work in progress, which might be what you're referring to, that's dicey. Because sometimes you can, if you choose your audience wrong and you play something or show something to somebody that's kind of in development, it's dangerous, because you can get some people who have an agenda.
Is this you like secretly telling me to stop sending you my new demos? You're like, fuck, I don't want to hear another in progress bedroom recording.
I love in progress everything, particularly from Flower Face. but I don't know if you've ever had that. Like,
Oh, I've certainly
yeah,
done that.
you know, like you play something for somebody, and they're kind of like, well, that, you know, that sounds out of tune, or I don't like that chord, or I don't, that melody sounds like this song, and you're like, oh God, like, why do I feel? Oh God, and you feel your momentum slowing.
It's just
That's where you have to watch out, like, and you have to be honest with yourself. Like, if there's a person in your life who, when you present a work in progress, you feel your momentum slowing, don't show them anything ever again.
Yeah.
Because they're the wrong audience.
It's hard. I feel like it's hard in different ways, like showing it to someone who knows like that form of art, you know, like me showing a song to you, versus showing it to someone who doesn't do that kind of art. Because both can be equally damaging if the audience is wrong. Because if you show it to someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, they have all these things to say, and you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's so frustrating, right? It's like they say something, and it's like, well, you don't know what that means. You don't make music.
People don't always understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand where you're coming from, and at a certain point, if you feel strongly about something, then you're right.
Yeah.
I heard this interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and he was talking about Seinfeld.
As he does.
I'm trying to think of the name of the show. What's the show with Jerry Seinfeld? Anyway, he was talking about Seinfeld, and he was saying like that their first like season or two, they had a lot of pushback from the network and the other writers. There was other writers on staff, and he's saying how you know, sometimes they'd get feedback from writers, that's not good enough, we don't like this, and they basically, by the second season, they had veto power, and they said their filter was so strong that if both of them agreed that something was funny, it made the show. So it's like, at a certain point, it's cool to share, and sometimes, like, you know, I think you've got a very strong filter, you know, and
Because you have to trust yourself.
yeah, and that's hard.
Yeah, like be open to other people's opinions, but like it is your creation at the end of the day.
Yeah, but how did you learn to trust yourself?
Oh, I still have trouble with it.
But you're good at it.
I think I've just been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've been making music, putting it out into the world since I was 14. 12 years now, because I'm ancient.
That's insane.
And so I think through the years I've just sort of developed a stronger core, and a bit of more of an ability to trust myself, but I still struggle. Like, you know, say I send something to you and you say like, I think it, like, this should be this way instead. And, you know, I don't...
But first I start with, so beautiful, I love these lyrics, and it's so pertinent, and then I throw in the shit part where I say, well, it might be a little bit too long, which is usually...
You're like, why is this 8 minutes long? This doesn't make sense. Like, do you think this verse needs to be like 14 lines? Can we cut out one lyric? But yeah, so I, like, you know, say I send something to you, you have something specific to say you want to cut like 4 lines of the lyrics, which has happened.
Yep.
You know, and I say, no, those lyrics are important to me. I want them to be there, and so therefore, you know, it's still in my head. I still will think, what if I'm wrong? Like, what if it isn't the right thing to do? But I feel so intensely attached emotionally to my work that I think that helps. Where I'm like, no, this is my expression, and therefore I'm going to keep it. Like, I'm a lot more malleable with the music part than with lyrics.
Yep.
I'm very, like, I won't change lyrics. Like,
Although you have.
When did I change lyrics?
Well, there's a couple lyrics, I think.
No, I added lyrics. We added a chorus to the end. So I had to write new lyrics. But I don't think I changed.
Like 1 or 2 words.
Actually, no, it totally in you were like, I don't like this line. And I was like, oh, but that was early in our relationship, so I was trying to impress you. So I was like, oh God, I gotta change it, and I still regret. No, I don't. It's better now. The early days where I was like so nervous. Like, you don't like this song. You're like thumbs up reacting to my file. I'm like, oh, he hates me. Meanwhile, you're literally just like an adult, not like a teenager like me.
You gave me the thumbs up. You must hate me.
You know, you're like, thumbs up means good.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, anyway, we got on a tangent, but don't be afraid to put yourself
That's good.
out there.
I might ask you some more questions later.
Yeah? Okay.
Hi, Flower Face. So I'm getting married this year, actually, in October, and I'm very excited, and I have not a doubt in my heart about this man. However, I always think about everything else that could be or might have been if I don't get married, and sometimes I find it so heavy on my mind that I can't even sleep at night. Any other lovers that I come across in my life, anybody else that piques my interest over time, what do I do about those feelings? Thanks.
See, I figured this would be good for you because you're the only friend of mine who's been married. I'm like, I've never committed like that.
So the question is like, you're worried that after you get married, how are you going to deal with temptation? Is that basically?
I think it's more like the idea of, you know,
Closing
all the other things that could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very understandable because she says she has no doubt in her mind, fully in love, fully wants to get married.
Yep.
It is a big decision, and it is closing the door to other things.
Statistically irresponsible to get married, so you should reconsider.
No, don't say that. It's funny because this episode won't be out for a while, so she'll be seeing it on her wedding day. We're like, wait, I object. No, I think a certain level of, you know, there definitely are other paths you can follow.
Yep.
But like, there are infinite paths you can follow at any point in your life.
Yep.
And this is probably one of the things you're more certain of. So if you think of it that way, there's definitely lots of decisions you made in the past that you weren't very sure of, and those could have led to a completely different life, right? There are always a million different lives that you could have led. And so if you feel certain about this person, I don't know, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
No. Yeah. I think that's the key to life, you know, like what we're talking about, having trust in yourself. Like, if you trust that this is the right person for you, you should go for it and go wholeheartedly and open yourself up to wherever that leads you, and know that there is no, you know, getting married is not a magic formula for relationship success, and that relationships are always work, and you know, you're gonna run into, like in my experience, there was a number of challenging periods, you know, from the 5-year point to the 10-year point to the 15-year point. They all have their own challenges, and you know, introducing finances and children and all that stuff, it's challenging, you know. And I don't think anyone really kind of told me that. Like, I think.
How old were you when you got married?
35, I think.
You should have known better.
Known better than what?
No,
Than to get
You're like,
married?
no one told me marriage was. It's like, you're 35.
No, but it's true. It's true. Like, I think the theme of today, like as I was riding my bike over here, I was like, you know, being an adult, it's a bunch of shit. Being an adult that, like, when you're a kid, they don't really tell you. And they, you know, a long-term relationship, I think there's a lot of this sort of fairy tale shit that we digest, you know, the happily ever after thing, the, you know, that sort of the perfect life. There is no perfect life. You're always working on stuff. You work on yourself, you work on your relationships, and it's great that you work on relationships. Where the fuck am I going?
I don't know. I've been lost for like 10 minutes. It's Grandpa's bedtime.
I think it's great. You can remember.
Congratulations.
Well, let's.
Can we come?
Yeah, you know what? my wedding party was one of the greatest days of my life.
See,
I'm so shocked.
That's the thing is like, I don't know, I feel like people talk about marriage as if you're not already committed before that. But it's like, if you're at the point where you're getting married, like, you're already in a committed relationship.
Mhm.
The door is already closed, or it should be. I don't think that, like, once you're married, then you can't cheat. I think it's like, you've already committed to someone. I understand that now it's like a legal thing, but a lot of people stay together their whole lives and don't get married. Mm-hmm. And so if you're already assuming that you're going to stay with this person and be with this person, then it's like, that door is already closed whether you get married or don't. You know, I think, like, marriage is, like, yeah, people make marriage out to be this magical thing when it's not, but it's also the other extreme of, like, marriage is this terrifying thing that's going to ruin everything. It's also not necessarily true. It's just a choice within a relationship that is already committed, right? It's just a big party, and I think that's great. You can look forward to that.
It felt really good to get married. Like, it changed something. Like, to be you know, whatever your ceremony is, and how, you know, if you're having friends and family involved in the ceremony, like, saying those words in front of people who you love and care about, and they care about you, and they support your relationship, it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
There was something, like, it was way more special than I anticipated, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a beautiful thing. It's really irresponsible. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. But so many people
idealistic and you know.
See, I used to be obsessed with the idea of getting married.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to get married so bad. I would think about it all the time. I would just, like, think about my wedding and I would cry.
Yeah.
But now my heart is hard and emotionless. And
yeah, well, you're realistic now.
Yeah.
You're not in denial.
Yeah. One big heartbreak and you'll be over it. So. I'm like, fairy tale shattered. I don't know how to love.
Yeah. But that's lovely. I hope it's a wonderful wedding.
Yeah.
Wish you guys the best of luck.
Yeah. Congrats. Okay. Dear Flowerface, your music has marked my teenage years. I began listening to you back in 2018 when I was 12 years old. I'm now 17 going on 18. That's challenging enough as it is, true. But I'm very thankful that I became an adult over the years with your music as a warm hand on my shoulder and a place to hide at the end of every hard day. It's very sweet.
That's nice.
The boy I thought was my first love never loved me at all. He repeatedly lied to me, gaslit me, and even was a physical threat to me and my friends. He's a narcissist, and many people are aware of it by now. So many people distrust his word already. He is very charismatic, however, and I worry he will talk shit and spread lies about me for a while, even with strangers he meets at the nightclub or something. How do I survive the smear campaign? I can't control his actions, but how should I act? Should I retaliate with another one with the concrete evidence he lacks to drag my name through the mud so I can drag his? What do I do if he lies about something terrible like me being violent against him? I never was. I loved him so much. How do I deal with this?
Whoa.
Yeah, this is a hard one. It's also a lot of, like, hypotheticals. Like, I can feel you kind of spiraling through the message.
Yeah. I mean, I have definitely experienced what a narcissist can do in a relationship as a friend or as a lover, and definitely do not engage. Do not engage in any way. Don't try to retaliate. Don't try to get them to admit anything, because they won't. They don't take responsibility for themselves, and they're always just looking out for themselves. So I'm sorry you're going through this. It's very, very, very hard to deal with an abusive relationship like that. Any thoughts?
Yeah. I agree. Like, don't retaliate. Don't do what you think that he's going to do to you. Try to trust that the people that love you and care about you will know that anything he says like that isn't true. Like you said, a lot of people don't believe him already because of the way that he acts. One thing I find with people like that is that they tend to think everyone else is stupid. Like, they tend to think that the people around them are really, really dumb, and that they can just, that they can outsmart everyone, that they're smarter than everyone in the room. And it's, it's not the case. Like, a lot of the time it's pretty transparent, it's pretty easy to see through those kinds of lies. So yeah, just trust in the people in your life. don't retaliate, cut off contact, block, and those people feed on your reactions. So if you don't give them anything to work with, it'll hopefully end.
Yeah. And inevitably, that kind of person will have their flying monkeys, they call them. And those people will believe them, and they will feed into their tendency to lie and self-aggrandize. But you don't want to be with those people anyway.
Yeah.
So just be true to yourself and speak your truth. Stay away from that person, and you will be surrounded by people who accept you for who you are and love you and believe you. So you're gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But that is a really hard one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry too.
Hey, firstly, I just want to say that I love your music. I have been around since 80. Anyways, my ex-girlfriend cheated on me and fucked me over really bad. And I'm with this new girl now. I feel like I'm constantly questioning her or myself or not fully trusting her because of the baggage that I have from my previous relationship. And I want to talk to her about it, but I just don't know how to bring it up because it's such like an awkward conversation. I'm so tired of just like always being worried that she's just gonna up and leave, or she's gonna call me one day and be like, hey, I cheated on you. I'm just tired of constantly overthinking everything, Thank you for listening. Again, I love you so much.
Oh yeah.
Many such cases.
Oh my God.
It's really hard to not punish your current partner for the crimes of your past partner because you get into the belief that everyone is going to do the same thing to you that they did, but they're not.
No. Yeah, that is with the question of whether you talk to your partner about this or not, I think the answer is maybe no. Well, yes and no. I think first, talk to your therapist about it first.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, because you experienced a traumatic event that has impacted you negatively and is coloring your perception of what is happening in your new relationship. And so it's important that you have a handle on how that's affecting you, how that's triggering you in your current relationship, and just kind of get a bit of perspective on that first before you talk to your partner. But it is important to talk to them. Maybe, it's like the count to 1,000 conversation.
Yeah, there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to approach it.
Yeah.
You don't want to approach it with any kind of accusatory tone or any kind of I'm worried you're going to do this, because there is no evidence and there's no reason for you to believe that they're going to do that. And you have to remember that. And it's easy for your mind to get sort of twisted like that, but remember.
And very normal.
Yeah, but if they haven't given you any reason to not trust them, then it's unfair to come in with that attitude. But I think, there is a way to discuss it and just say that you're carrying trust issues because of a past relationship, and that you want to be able to I don't know, don't talk about the fear that they're going to do it to you, but you can just say this is something that you struggled with, just have an open conversation about it.
Yeah, this happened to me and it affects me, and maybe it instigates an important conversation. Maybe your partner has had a similar thing and they're scared to talk to you about it too,
And maybe some simple reassurance can, go a long way in helping you sort of temper these concerns.
Yep. Talk to your therapist.
For sure.
Or your friends, if you don't have a therapist, and then...
Yeah. With friends, sometimes though, it can become a bit of an echo chamber.
True.
It can become a bit of a I don't know, everyone wants to comfort you and tell you that you're right, And so it can become and it can almost, especially if any of your friends have similar insecurities,
Yep.
you can kind of spiral together, and you'll end up feeling even more like you shouldn't trust them, or even more like there's a danger that you'll be cheated on again. Somebody who's a little less
Yes, at least more objective.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Or if any of your friends are in like healthy, long-term, successful relationships, then talk to them.
Who think they haven't been cheated on?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, all of my close friends here, at least, are single or like actively dating. And oh my god, it can become a doom spiral when we talk about relationships and dating and stuff, because all of our anxieties kind of like feed each other, and we're all like, oh my god, we've been in the trenches forever. And then I talked to my one friend, my best friend back home, who is in like a very long-term, very happy, secure relationship. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's not all bad. Like maybe it can happen. Maybe it does exist.
Yeah. No, it's amazing when you communicate well and when you're open to each other's nonsense. You know, we all have our bullshit, and we've all had something that affects us such that we can get into a fight that has nothing to do with the couple.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so when that happens, if you can sort of recognize in yourself, like, why am I so mad, or why am I so offended that they don't like my banana bread? Like,
well,
maybe the banana bread's not that good, and that's okay.
I don't have banana bread.
Oh my god.
Anyway, best of luck.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry you had someone cheat on you.
Yeah.
That really sucks, and it feels like somebody's pulled the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
But I think open communication in your next relationships, eventually, love yourself, and you'll regain trust in your relationships sooner than you think.
Okay. Hey Flowerface, first of all, I just wanted to tell you that I love your music. I hope you keep making such music that feels true to you. I seem to be perfect to everybody, but I'm not, and that makes it hard for me to share things with people I love. I do have one person with whom I can share things, but I always second guess everyone, and I look to other people to validate me, and that makes me very socially anxious. Plus, education is very important to me. I'm in a situation where I've taken up too many subjects and now I cannot handle it. I look to other people to validate me, and that makes me social. Also, I'm going to college next year. I'm leaving everything I've known since my childhood behind. My friends, family, the stray cat I feed, who's going to take care of him, and my home. Thank you for reading this. I really just dumped everything here. Bye. Yeah, I can feel the anxiety radiating from this.
Yeah, I wonder if, because as a parent of a budding young woman, there's this like balance that I'm trying to strike with her, where I'm trying to incite a growth mindset. So that mindset is very much like work hard as opposed to you're so good. And it sounds like maybe you had the you're so good feedback, and I think that's tough because you're probably quite smart, probably quite apt at new things, and so you're kind of used to getting this feedback of you're so good, and so that would instill this fear in you to fail, and that can be stifling. I don't know if you have felt that.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in a situation like that too. I always did really well in school. I was always very creative. I was very encouraged and praised by my parents, by teachers. Teachers always loved me, which was great, but it did lead to this thing where I'm like, I cannot ever do something wrong. I could never get in trouble at school. I could never fail a test. I would have, and I don't think I ever did, because I just would have freaked out, right? Sometimes I say that I think my problem in my childhood is that my parents loved me too much, rather than weren't around enough. because it's great to be encouraged, and I don't know, but yeah, it can lead to feeling like you can't possibly misstep, or else it's the end of the world, and that you have to be, you know, the one. Especially if you have like siblings or something, like I don't know what that situation is, or like amongst friends. It's like if you have that kind of role.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like I don't know. You know, I think embrace failure.
Yeah, and try not to think too much about the effect that your failure will have on other people, because it's really not as much as you think. Like if you fail a test, and you know it probably feels like your parents is going to ruin their lives, but it's not. It's not. You know, failure is generally a personal thing, and it's okay.
Yeah. When you think of all the world's greatest accomplishments, they were preceded by thousands of failures. You know, no one created anything that will stand the test of time that didn't take a long time and multiple failures to get to. And so, you know, we start our lives with a series of failures. Like we fail to walk as babies, and we fail to be able to talk, but like you just keep trying until you succeed.
Yeah.
And that's the same for the rest of your life, you know, and it can be scary when you get this sort of constant stream of positive feedback. You're so good, you're so good. It is stifling. It's definitely stifling. But don't give up. Don't let that stifle you. Don't let that make you afraid to try to do something that you're not 100% comfortable doing. Yeah. Because, you know, you could, next thing you know, you could be a helicopter pilot, you know?
Yeah.
You know.
No, I think that's true. And also like this thing of like being really sure of yourself in certain areas, and therefore feeling like you can't stray out of that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the possibility of like not just not failing, but like not being the best at something. Like that's really hard. Leaving home, leaving everything behind. Like I did that a few years ago and had a similar panic of like how can I possibly do this? Like who's gonna take care of the people I took care of? What is my life gonna be? How am I gonna survive this? Like how am I gonna enter a new life when I'm so used to what I was living before? And it was terrifying. Like I went from living with my family to living alone. And I remember I was scared to take out my recycling because I was like, what if I do it wrong? And it was like the biggest panic the first time I had to do it. It took me like an hour to put together my recycling and to be like, okay, I know where I have to put it on the street. What if somebody like thinks I'm doing it weird? What if I put it in the wrong spot and someone yells at me? What if they don't take it and tomorrow morning my recycling is the only one left there and everyone knows it's mine? This is such an insane story to tell, but it's true. I was so scared.
Very humanizing.
I was so scared of doing anything. And the thing is, I would be inside like recording really cool songs and like doing like amazing work, but then I was scared to take out my recycling. Like, I was like, because I was certain of myself in a few areas, and so scared of everything else because I was like, I cannot be certain that I'm gonna know how to do this correctly or be good at this. Now I don't really care what I do with my recycling.
You've come a long way.
I don't even think about it that much.
I'm the best
last night
recycler.
Last night was recycling night, and I did it. I didn't even give it a second thought. The moral of the story is,
I'm like
if you
helicopter pilot and you're a recycling girl.
I'll be a superhero.
You could be a skydiving juggler.
The moral of the story is, if you go on your local government website, it will tell you when to take out your recycling. No, the moral of the story is, life can be really scary, but you are probably capable of a lot more than you think you're capable of.
100%. Really, you're very capable.
And moving away will open so many doors, because there's a lot of stuff that I was really, really scared of before.
Yeah.
That now are just second nature, and I love those parts of my life. I love taking out recycling. I love doing all these tasks that I previously was really scared to do.
Yeah. And every brain surgeon was a really shit brain surgeon before they went to brain surgery school.
Yeah.
Like fucking terrible.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So there you go. I think that helps.
Don't doubt yourself. You can be a helicopter.
Helicopters or recycling.
Or you can take out the recycling. Dear Flowerface, thank you always for beautiful art. I'm writing as I'm currently living with my ex-boyfriend of 2 years, and a couple of weeks ago I discovered he had been unfaithful to me. Finding pictures of this girl, her social media accounts, has brought up terrible, ugly feelings of envy and obsession, and I don't quite know why. She had a partner too. I told him about it and he's gutted but staying with her. It feels extra unfair that she's faced no consequences, and it feels like I have lost the most in all this mess. I haven't felt good about myself since it happened. Looking in the mirror doesn't feel the same. I constantly wonder what it was about her that made him throw 2 years away. He has no answers to give me, and he's in the room next door. I'm often the losing party in my relationships with men, but I genuinely thought this time there was no chance of it going that way. I loved him a whole lot. Yesterday I found a poem that I wrote for him on Valentine's Day and never gave to him. I've been debating on whether to hide it in his room somewhere for him to find, maybe in years to come when we're far away from each other. I feel directionless now because my entire future as I knew it was by his side. I'm now debating to running away to some new city and starting again. Where do you turn for direction? How does one rebuild after everything's come crashing down so abruptly out of the blue?
Oh.
I'm so sorry. This is awful.
Get out of that apartment.
Yeah.
Don't live with your ex.
Yeah.
Gotta get out of there.
Go kick him out.
Yeah.
Kick him out.
Kick him out.
I mean, unless
You're
you
right.
have like a better prospect, he should have to leave.
That's right.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. Get that fucker out of the apartment.
Yeah.
And he should be the one who needs to restart his life or whatever, or leave the city. Like if you're in a city you like, he should be the one that needs to leave and start again.
Yeah, I totally understand the desire to just run away.
Yeah.
But, you shouldn't have to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, this is hard. Especially the thing with finding the other girl online and all of that. We were not built to have to deal with social media in relationships. Like, I wish so much that I was in like a slightly older generation and did not have to deal with. No, I said slightly.
Are you referring to?
I said not centuries older.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to be age discriminated against. Knew it.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I wish that I was not dating in the era of Instagram and Tinder and all of that. Because it's brutal. Like, social media is not good with relationships, but it's especially not good with breakups. It's not like, I don't know. Like, we were not meant to go through heartbreak and then be able to go online and see exactly what they're doing, see if they're currently online, see where they are, see who they're doing it with, like all of these things. Back in the day, you broke up and then you probably have no clue what they're doing, and like that's better.
Much better.
Certainly better.
Yep.
And I know it's hard to take the advice to not look at her social media and not obsess over it. And especially because I get how you feel that like she isn't, no one else is suffering any consequences except for you. But the reality is, like, yeah, that couple is staying together, but that's not going to be a good relationship.
They're suffering not that this makes things any better, but everyone's suffering some kind of consequence when that happens. But it's definitely doesn't make it fair.
Yeah.
Any better.
And like you're going to come out on top eventually, like because you're not staying in this relationship.
Yeah. Like
it's not, maybe they're not dealing with, they're like shoving it aside right now, but they will have to deal with it eventually. But anyway, like none of that really matters because that's their relationship. It's not yours. They're not you. But it's obviously hard not to compare yourself, not to think like, what is it about her? But really, it's not about you. It's not about her. It's about him. It's about his own insecurities and problems, right? Like, I don't know. If someone is secure in themselves and if someone is an honest and decent person, they're not going to do that regardless of who the other person is.
Yep.
Like, it's not like she's some magical human being who caused him to stray. Like, it's his fault. It's his decision. And we hate that guy.
We hate that guy. Yeah, kick him out. Tell him to hit the road.
Yeah, don't live in an apartment with him.
And
That's-
definitely don't give him that poem. Save it for
No,
someone
yeah.
who deserves it.
Don't. I know there's this idea of like that'll show him,
Yeah.
but no.
He's not worth writing a poem for.
Yeah, agreed.
Keep it and give it to yourself.
Yeah. Or give it to your next boyfriend, say it's about him.
Exactly.
That's what we all do, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Hi. First, I want to say I love your music. Your music's always gotten me through the hardest times of my life. What advice would you give to a teenager who is struggling figuring out what really is happening with their life? Because life can get a lot of people down, especially teens around my age. And I'd love to know a bit of advice or tips that you have from your own experiences. Thank you. I love you so much. I love your, oh my God, I love your music.
You get the question about being a teen. Because maybe you can dig back in the archives of your mind.
Well, it feels to me like, oh man, being a teen, I think teenage boys and teenage girls have a very different experience.
Yeah.
From as far as I can tell, and it has been a while since I was a teenager. But I mean, I liked high school. I liked early university. I thought it was kind of fun, but I definitely understand that there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of identity stuff, and the idea of, you know, coming away from your parents for the first time and finding yourself. Like, do you feel like that's the biggest thing? It's like finding your identity, maybe? Is that the biggest challenge?
Yeah, your identity or like your place in the world, your community, like the people you want to surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a big transitional period when you're a teenager is like the people that you had forced proximity with due to school and all of that, versus the people that you will then choose to carry on in your life.
Yep.
Because a lot of decisions are made for you when you're a child and
Huge.
early teenager.
Yeah. Most things are imposed on you
Yeah.
for the early stages of your life.
And so making decisions is really hard. And sometimes it's like, oh yay, I get to make my own choices. Oh, I actually don't want to do that. I want my mom to tell me what to do again because I don't know.
Yeah, but my mom's not cool. My dad's embarrassing.
Yeah.
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 That's true.
Yeah. It is hard. It's hard because there's all of this. Also, all this like, oh, when I'm 18 or like when I'm older and I get to make my own choice and I get to like, go and do whatever I want. You get there and then you're like, well, what do I want? What do I want to do? I don't know what I want to do. Can someone please tell me what to do? Someone tell me how to take out the recycling. I don't know.
Well, and we're also like, we're fed this line of like anything's possible, like more now than ever, right?
Right.
Like anything's possible, and we see it all over the place. It's like, oh, this guy is a professional surfer. This woman is a fighter jet pilot, and it's like you could do anything, and like, holy shit, maybe that's a little stifling.
Yeah.
Like maybe, as you say, you know, we spend the early stages of our lives in these kind of capsules. It's like, this is what your capsule is today. It's almost like when you're on tour and you have a day sheet gets slid underneath your door every day and you know what's going to happen for the entirety of your day. That's kind of really relaxing. There's something really nice in knowing that you don't have that much choice to make.
Yeah. Well, when you have too many options, it's easy to just be paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like not be able to choose. Something that a little simile metaphor.
Which one?
Pointless tangent. I don't know. But I'm as you know, I'm a vegetarian, and so when I go to restaurants, generally, there's like two choices. And I'm like, awesome. I'll
have French fries. And
but it's like, it's nice. So it's like, oh, I'll have one. I'm not a picky eater, so I'm like, I'll have one of these things. That's great. But then sometimes I'll go to a restaurant that's like all vegetarian or all vegan, and I'm handed like a 5-page menu. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what I want. Like, it's usually so easy to just choose out of a couple things. And it's like that in life too. When anything's possible, I'm too scared to do anything.
Yeah.
especially with social media and the internet and everything, I feel like there is such a rampant FOMO problem. No matter what,
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to look and see what other people are doing, and no matter what they're doing and no matter what you've already done in your life, it's easy to say, I should be doing something else, I should be doing more, I should be doing something different. And I did that too, and then I look back on my life and like, I've had some really amazing adventures, I've had so many great friends, I've had great loves, but I still feel like, oh, well, maybe my life should have been different. Maybe my life wasn't exciting enough. Maybe I didn't do enough. And I think everyone feels that way to an extent. I don't know if that answered the question.
Sometimes we compare ourselves to others too much.
Yeah.
You know, I think the most important thing really is to do the things in life that you feel strongly about, you know, and if you follow that path, I think you won't have any regrets. Like the fear of regret, the fear of missing out is strong and real. So don't.
Yeah. And try not to compare yourself or your life too much to others.
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
As they say.
That's right. And better is the enemy of the good.
Hello, Flowerface. I love how you see life and how you write about different experiences. My question for you is, how do I let go of my past and past self? Do you have any suggestions? That's a hard one.
Why?
Because
Why would you want to let go of your past self?
I don't know, like as an artist, don't you look back on work you did in the past and think, cringe? Or you're just like totally selfish?
Oh my god.
Totally.
The first record I made, just pretty cringe. But I mean, is that what they're talking about?
I think so.
Or the self?
Well, let go of your past self. The past. I think maybe they're just referring to like different, I feel like everyone feels different than they did in the past, right?
Yeah.
I personally feel this one strongly because I started putting out music when I was 14 and it's still all out there. And every day I struggle with the desire to just like cleanse it from, and I mean I couldn't now because it's all on YouTube and everywhere. But people will message me and say, like, when is this going to be on Spotify? I'm like, oh my god, never. Like it's already hard enough to not take it down from everywhere I can take it down. Because, and I know people, there's a lot of my fans who started listening to me back then and who relate the most to that music versus like my current music. And I wouldn't want to take that from them. But at the same time, it is hard to look back on things that I wrote and made alone when I was 14 that are so like out of tune and the lyrics are embarrassing and I didn't know what I was doing and I can't sing and I can't really play instruments and that's all just out there. And I think that's an issue, like the digital footprint thing is an issue for people in general, but especially with art. And it's hard for me also to look at, the kind of indie stars who pop up when they're, in their 20s and suddenly release like a great album and there's nothing before that. And for me, it's like I'm not an industry plant. I don't have connections or money, so I'm not like I had to build up to this point, and that meant a lot of embarrassing things being out there. And so I do fantasize about being able to just completely erase all of it, but it's not a possibility. And so I think it's less about letting go of your past and past self, and more about coming to accept it and trying to like look at that version of yourself with compassion and love. I fall into that trap, and I don't know if that's what this person is feeling, where I look back at myself when I was like, 15, writing these songs, putting them out there, and I'm like, oh my god, like why were you so stupid? Like this is so embarrassing, like this is so bad, like you're not, like you can't play instruments, you can't sing, you can't write, like this sucks, why would you put it out there, all this stuff. And I can be so mean to myself. But I have to take a beat and remember I would not be here if I had not done that.
That's right.
If I had not put myself out there and if I had not, pushed past any kind of embarrassment that I might have had and done that, like I would not have gotten to this point. And so you really have to be kind to your past self. Treat your past self with compassion and love, and don't be mean.
That's totally true, and that like ties into the other question we had, about what was it?
Which one? Memory's starting to go.
Yeah, I'm old and I don't remember things. The artist thing is interesting because you're 100%, like every band feels like that. Like, when Radiohead wrote Creep, they refused to play it for like a decade afterwards because they were so embarrassed by it. Everyone wanted them to play it and they didn't identify with it anymore. And we all make mistakes and we say dumb things and we do dumb things and we get embarrassed by the clothes we wore, the hairstyles we had, but as you say, like, look back on your past self with compassion, and you made whatever decisions you made at that time based on what you were given, the kind of world the world was at that time. And that's it. Like, I had all these photo albums at home. Like, there's these books that were collections of photographs that people put actual photographs in when I was a child.
I've heard of it.
and whenever I go to my mom's place, I like to flip through these photo albums, and my sister was pretty into style back in the day, and much more than me, and she did the like 80s hairstyles, and that shit was bold. Like, she would put probably half a can of hairspray in her hair, and like there was two hairstyles that really stuck out in those photo albums, and one is like she made the front of her bangs look like a claw, like it was a big hand sticking out, and then there was another phase where it like went straight up and then back like in a wave. And like at the time, that's what everybody was doing, right?
It's cool.
And it was cool, and like you went to school and nobody's like, what a fucked up hairstyle you have, like. But when you look back on it, you're like, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
You weren't.
Yeah, you're always gonna feel that way. Like a decade from now, you'll probably feel that way about your current self.
Most likely.
I think like another difficult thing with in the art world with this is that a lot of people kind of, if you're like putting out work under the same name for a long period of time, people don't always consider the fact that like you grow as a person. To you, you're like, oh my god, I was a completely different person back then. I was, a different age. My life was different. But to the general public, it's kind of like, this is by Flower Face. This is also by Flower Face.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I struggle with. Like I'll get comments on my old songs like that I put out when I was a young teenager, and being like, this sounds exactly like a Bright Eyes song. I'm like, of course it sounds exactly like a Bright Eyes song.
Loved Bright Eyes.
I was 14. I probably copied it note for note from a Bright Eyes song. Because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But people kind of see it as like, this is the same artist, and therefore like,
Well, people say that about early Mozart or early Beethoven.
Yeah.
I'm comparing you to Mozart.
Yeah, who let Beethoven in the studio? Yeah.
Be compassionate with yourself.
Yeah. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah. Like always.
Yeah.
I can work on that too.
Yeah, you should. Well, that's it. That's all we've got.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for all of your questions. The line is still open, so if you'd like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call in, email in. There will be more special guests coming up. Thank you so much, Marcus.
Thank you for having
being
me.
my guest today.
That was fun.
And I'm excited for you to all hear the work that we have done together.
Oh my God.
More on the way.
Stay tuned.
Thank you so much. Bye.